I never really intended to write the book Working with Anger. It just kind of happened by itself. And the book is totally plagiarized. None of the ideas are my own. Everything I copied from somebody else. Thank goodness Shantideva was a great Indian sage that lived in the 8th century, so he's not going to take me to court for plagiarism. However, the book is basically rooted on chapter 6 of his great book, Engaging in the Bodhisattva's Deeds, which is one of my favorite books and also one that His Holiness Dalai Lama teaches quite often. So I became familiar with chapter 6, which is the chapter on fortitude or patience, when I lived in Italy. And my kind teacher, Lama Yeshe, made me not only the spiritual director of the center, but the disciplinarian for a group of macho Italian monks. So I didn't think before I went there that I had a problem with anger. You know, I thought other people had a problem with anger, and they should definitely work on it. But I didn't throw things, I didn't yell and scream, so I don't have much of a problem with anger. But I went there, and due to the kindness of these macho Italian monks who push my buttons continuously, I learned that actually, in fact, I do have a problem with anger. And that just because I don't yell or scream and throw things doesn't mean that I'm totally composed and patient. It's just the anger bubbles up inside. But I was taught not to let it out and express it, you know. I was punished when I, you know, kind of let my anger out. So I learned to, you know, kind of keep it inside and feed it, you know, this roaring kind of monster inside. So the situation was such that when I did my job at the center, I would have to deal with these people during the day, and I would get incredibly angry. And then at night I would go home and I would pull out Shantideva's book and look at chapter 6 and like do the meditations and calm myself down and okay, I'll make it. And then the next day I would go into my office and then the whole thing started again and I would get angry again. And that evening come home and you know, look at chapter 6. So this went on for quite a long time. You know, if my teacher had said to me, oh, children, you have a problem with anger, I would have said no. The only way he was going to make me see it was by putting me in this kind of situation. So, yeah, so I became quite familiar with Shantideva's text. So later on, when I came back to the U.S., and I was giving Dharma talks here, and many people were talking about anger and how to handle anger here, then I decided just to write some reflections on it. And it actually began with a talk I gave in, at the American Evergreen Buddhist Association, Venerable Gendi's temple, Chiang Temple in Kirkland, Washington. And I gave a talk there on working with anger. It was just transcribed. And my friends in Singapore made it into a very thin little booklet called Working with Anger. And the cover was one of the big volcanoes in Japan exploding. It was like the perfect cover. But it was only a small booklet. So when I came back to the U.S., you know, and then people were asking me more, I decided to really start to write more and think more about the issue. And so the result was Working with Anger, which was published by Snow Lion. This volcano is one of the ones in Mexico, right outside of Mexico City, that blew up some years ago. And then the face here is one of the oracles, the Nechung oracle, you know, his peaceful face. So they juxtapose them there. So, yeah, that's how the book got written. It was completely unintentional, but written very much to help me, review all the antidotes to anger, and deepen those antidotes. And I really discovered that when you practice them, not just when you're angry, but when you're not angry, so that you can understand them and work through past issues and so on. When you think about these things in your regular daily practice, you gain some familiarity with the techniques, and then they make more sense and they become more useful when you're actually faced with a situation where you're getting worked up about something.